Welcome back to the Bluprint YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mohamed.imam, also known as MIVisuals. I'm a graphic designer, podcaster, and video editor. Today, I'll be showing you how I created the I Am Legend podcast cover art. I created this podcast cover art just to show you how easy it is to create something real quick and real easy, but something that's nice and vibrant, and it carries a lot of personality in my opinion anyway. Shortly, we'll transition over to my computer monitor to show you what exactly I did and how I did it. For now, let's roll the intro. Okay, so yeah, in this tutorial, I want to show you how I went from this to this. It's a very simple double exposure effect that anyone can do on their phones. I see a lot of people that can use like things like PicsArt. It's a free app on your phone you can probably use to make the simple double exposure effect. I know a few people I actually follow on Instagram that create really stunning content just using that. One of them is called I think he's called Imaginaire Extraordinaire. Well, what's he called, cameraman? Imaginaire? YouTube channel. I mean, his Instagram. Imaginaire Visuals. So yeah, I'll put some pictures of that. So there's Imaginaire Visuals. There's another guy who's actually my cameraman's brother. PX Files something. Like, he makes really cool stuff as well. He uses a mixture of Photoshop and PicsArt as well. And I'm sure if I just Google PicsArt double exposure effects, you'll see all sorts of really cool stuff. So yeah, in this video, I just want to show you how I created this simple double exposure podcast cover art. So yeah, I'll show you quickly just in terms of how you want to upload this. You want to make sure that it's the correct dimension. So you don't want to make it too big or too small for the podcast. Like, the podcast publisher needs to ensure that your images are consistent across all their platforms. You get what I mean? So if you go on Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud or Google Podcasts or whatever you want to use, and you look at the images, you don't want to see circles and shapes and triangles, circles and squares and triangles all over the place. You want to see like a consistent theme where every podcast has a nice shape and a nice image size. Otherwise, it would be disorganized and it would go all over the place. So podcast publishers always make sure that there is a consistent maximum and minimum podcast cover art size and dimension. So generally, it's just a pretty simple square. I'll show you now. What I'm going to use is a 1400 by 1400 pixels on Photoshop. You can do this on your phone as well, even like I said with PicsArt. So yeah, podcast cover art. And create RGB because it's digital content, and then yeah, you get this nice simple white blank canvas right here. And yeah, so we're gonna aim to get from there to there. So well, the first step for me was just to get some images of my brother here. So he was my model for this shoot. I just decided to whip out the camera one day and the lights and just try and get some really nice, pleasing aesthetics from him. And I tried making him like try and be a bit more expressive. So I was like, just do some really interesting poses is one of them. And then here's another one that's a bit in the dark. And I wanted to just see what I could do with them and make it interesting. He was wearing some really nice shirt that day, and the lighting was good. So I was like, yeah. And then I took this final picture and I told him, like, just cover your mouth with your hands, and it just looked really nice against the wall. So I just took that image and I went ahead and slapped it into Photoshop and found another astronaut picture, stock image. I'll show that right here. Stock images. I found a nice astronaut picture, and I slapped it into Photoshop as well, and that was that. So if I show you here, there it is. So a combination of this and this created this, along with some text and some texture, and that was literally it. All I did to start off with is I got that original image. We'll drag it right into this new image we started. Drag it right in there, and then we'll resize it with Control T. Whoops, no. Make sure you hold Shift so it doesn't resize in a weird way. Here's me saying that, but I'm not doing it myself. Actually, I think Photoshop actually made it so. There we go. So if I zoom in now, you can see that my brother's centered there, and then I'm gonna manually move him a little bit because it doesn't center too perfectly with the computer. And then we just take a look again at that. So it's a lot bigger, so I'll make him a bit bigger. and then raise him up a bit. Raise him up a bit, make him a little smaller than that. I think that's about fine. Then we'll get the astronaut image. We'll drag that in there, slap it on top. And I don't know which one was on top or behind. So the astronaut picture was on top. I made that bigger as well. So centered it. And then I lowered, and then I clicked on the astronaut image and I lowered the fill. So the fill is just essentially the same as opacity. I made it 25, so you can barely see the astronaut, but you can see more of my brother. And then yeah, make that a bit bigger. And then we'll get something like that. So we'll just mess around with it a bit until we get to a position where we feel like it's comfortable in that place. As you can see, it's a bit smaller in my image originally. And then we'll center it a bit and make it up a bit. And then what I did was I got another image of my brother, well, the same one, and I placed it on top and I just cut it out. So I cut it out and slapped it on top just to make it seem like he's still there. There we go. Actually, we'll scratch that. So you can see that's the majority of it done already. Like the colors are there, the image is there, and we just want to reorganize it a bit and get to a point where it's in this kind of position. The next thing I done was just cut my brother out. Well, that's a weird way of saying things, but we cut the image of my brother out and made it into a single image by itself. So if I double click this, what we'll do is convert it to a smart object. Double click that. You can see that that's him there. If I maximize it there again. But yeah, we cut him out so he's just against the transparent background. And then we put that on top and also made some layer effects and added some texture. So I added that texture here. If you can see, if I remove that there, you can see there's a lot less texture and it's a lot smoother and it's not too rough looking. And for me personally, I want it rough. I don't want it looking too smooth and sharp. You want to add some texture to make it seem a bit more grimy and add to the story a bit, if you get what I mean. So I added a bit of texture, and I added another layer where there's a slight glitch effect. So if you see that zoomed in, there's a little bit of purple and a little bit of green. And then, yeah, I think that's from this layer here. So what you do on Photoshop is you double click on layer effects, and then you can remove, you can basically make it a glitch effect by removing one of the colors. So you can remove all the blues and reds, and then you'll get a certain color, or you can remove all the greens and reds and you get a certain color. And then yeah, just mess around with that, look around for just Google or YouTube glitch effect, and you'll see how to make a glitch effect, or I'll make another tutorial if you ask for it. But yeah, a very simple glitch effect. And then I added the text on top with some more layer effects. So there's like a little water, like water reflection kind of fill in the blue there, and a bit of contrast with the I am legend. So we want to make sure that the legend there is very bold and it's colorful. So that's what like the whole idea of the podcast is just like to show that we want to become people that eventually you get to a point where the things that we've left behind and the legacies we left behind are huge, and we're not doing little things for little purposes. So I am legend, the podcast, trying to make the fun match the story behind it. And with the astronaut itself, the idea was behind that. The idea was that my brother, like, he had a really cool picture, and then I just thought, what am I gonna do with it? And then it just came to me, like, I'll put astronaut on top, and the idea, or the caption I used on Instagram was something to do with how when we were younger, like astronauts and like Formula One drivers and like those really weird, crazy, not really weird, but crazy kind of careers aren't something that we kind of aspire to. Usually that's like people that are from like upper classes, and we never, like, as like working class people, ever think about like, yeah, I'm gonna become an astronaut one day. Like, have you ever heard someone like from your background say that? Like, it's most likely not. And like, how do you even get there from the start? And it was just like something where we don't even dream about that, so we couldn't possibly achieve it if you don't dream it. You get what I mean? So I just wanted to make an image that kind of reflected that, and like pointed at the fact that none of us really think big a lot of the time. And that's why I wanted to use this well, none of us think big when we're younger, because a lot of the time, like, society places these things on us where we don't feel like we're going to be taken seriously, or we don't know how we're going to achieve that dream. So why even think big? There's no point. So that's like kind of why I created this piece, just to kind of dedicate do a little homage to that.
Bars.
I thought it would be perfect for the podcast cover art, so I just decided to reuse it and refurbish it a bit, added the glitch effect, added the text effects, and that was pretty much it. And I wanted to use that for all our podcast episodes. So yeah, that podcast should now be up. I Am Legend Podcasts. Just a quick note, we've now changed the name from I Am Legend to the Bluprint Pod. Keep an eye out for that if you haven't. It should be a link in the description as well. So yeah, thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope it was beneficial and helpful in many different ways. If you need any more assistance in that regard, just let me know. Just drop a comment or send me an email. My email is in the description. It's in my website as well. And yeah, I can help you with that. But for now, that's the podcast cover art. And you'll be seeing that in every podcast episode coming soon to you. The next video will be about how we actually recorded the podcast and how we uploaded it to the different publishing platforms that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. Until then, stay creative, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.